appreciate everyone coming out here today. First off, just from a university standpoint, I'd like to thank Chancellor Sardarelli, the Board of Trustees, Athletic Director Jimmy Bass, and the search committee for allowing me to have this great opportunity. It's something I've dreamed about for a long time. I've been in baseball a long time, as far as Little League all the way up to now. And you never know kind of what your time frame is as far as getting opportunities, and everybody's different, but over the last 24 years as assistant, and a lot of times you don't see assistants last that long, but I've had a great opportunity over the last 24 years to keep grinding it out, and found a place here for the last 18 that is what I've called home, and it's special to me. This university's special. The community's special, and our program, it has really leaps and bounds over the last 15 to 20 years, and I've been fortunate enough to be a part of that, thankful for it. I look back right now and you think about 63 baseball seasons at this university. 1957 was when it was started, first college baseball season. 3 coaches, Coach Brooks, Coach Guthrie, Coach Scalf. It's quite an honor to be able to follow those 3 guys. To be the 4th head coach of this university is humbling. I'm truly honored. I'm extremely excited to lead these guys, and I'm excited. It's unbelievable for my family. My daughter's grown up in this area. She's pretty much been raised in Wilmington. My parents live about an hour and a half north of here in Goldsboro, so just a great place and really excited. I told my wife I'll probably get about 15 minutes to talk about myself and us a little bit, and then from this moment on, it's about the program after that, our players. But you always kind of look back at people that kind of mentored you, people that gave you opportunities, people that stood out, and I wanted to take just a little bit of time to kind of reach back and tell you about a little bit about myself and how I got here. There's always coaches, there's people that mean a lot to you, and my very first coach that really stood out to me was back in middle school. We called it junior high back then, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, but my coach Jimmy Montague, he was our head baseball coach, he was our head basketball coach, and he was our assistant football coach. But one thing that stood out with me with Coach Montague was my 9th grade basketball season. We were not known for basketball at Grantham Junior High, but we had 10 to 11 guys that were good players but not great players. And we learned that year what it was like, if you know your role, to be a team, to have teamwork. And he's always been a big fan of mine and a supporter, and I just look back, and that's where one of my values of being a team and understanding what your role is really stood out to me. So I thank Coach Montague for that opportunity and the things that he's passed along. I grew up a little bit more and got to go to Southern Wayne High School right around the road in Dudley. You don't realize at that time how awesome it is to get to play varsity baseball as a sophomore. There weren't many that got to do that back in the day. My head coach at that time was Doyle Whitfield. He's actually here today, but he taught me a lot of values. The biggest thing that I remember from Coach Whitfield was being disciplined and fundamentals. All right. There was a time early as a sophomore where I could run back in the days pretty good and like to steal bases. And I remember stealing second base, standing up, and it was close, but I didn't have to slide and get my pants dirty. And here comes Coach Whitfield running across the field, yelling at me, telling me, if you ever do that again, you'll never play for Southern Wayne again. I always slid from that moment on. But he taught me a lot. We were fortunate enough my junior year to win the state 4A championship. 11 guys off that team played college baseball, 4 played professionally. 1 made it to the big leagues. The guy that made it to the big leagues was our backup sophomore shortstop, and he was kind of our base runner on that team. And it's amazing like how that team developed, but that's where really, from a discipline standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, I learned a lesson right there, and I always would thank Coach Whitfield, and he again has been one of my biggest supporters. I got recruited several schools. Back then, recruiting is not like it is today in sports. But my junior year, I went to a college baseball camp at Clemson, and I met Cal Koontz. Some of you might not know Cal Koontz, but he's passed away. But he was the coach that recruited me to Campbell University. And really, I ended up signing to go to Campbell in June of my senior year. You don't see that happen a lot more in recruiting. Just a couple weeks ago, I'm out watching 8th, 9th, 10th graders. And I signed as a senior back in June, about a month before I actually went to school. But Coach Koontz was a real stoic, quiet guy that would sit back and evaluate you. Didn't say a lot, but you knew when he talked it meant something. And I always learned that, take a step back, look at things, evaluate people before you make a decision. I always thank Coach Koontz for that. He actually left my freshman year to take a pro job. Mike Caldwell became my head coach at Campbell for basically the 4 years I was there. If you know pro baseball, know the Milwaukee Brewers. His nickname was Mr. Warmth, Yankee Killer, because he did a job on the Yankees when he played with the Brewers. He was a left-handed pitcher. But really enjoyed my 4 years there. Coach Caldwell taught me a lot. Biggest thing was tell it like it is, be truthful. All right, and I'll always thank for him. He was helped me, got my opportunity in professional baseball. I actually signed with the Brewers out of Campbell, and I think a lot, and I'm very thankful for Coach Caldwell and all that he's done. Got to play 5.5 years of pro baseball. Met a lot of good and worked with a lot of good managers. Probably the one that meant the most to me was Terry Francona. Spent part of 2 seasons in AA in Birmingham with Tito, I call him. But the thing I take from him is basically have fun, be a player's coach, and be a professional at all the things that you do. And those are some qualities that at the time I probably didn't realize that would kind of center who I am. But you look back 25, 20 years later, those individuals meant a lot to me, and I'm very thankful for them. Like I mentioned, I spent about 5 years in pro ball, and then I got released. And when you get cut the first time in your life from something, no matter at what age it is, it hits you in a hard way. You don't really know how to act. I'm in my mid-20s and got released, and I knew I wanted to stay in baseball. I just didn't really know exactly if it was in the professional side or collegiate side. The opportunity to possibly coach came up at my alma mater at Campbell. Coach Chip Smith was hired as the new head coach, and I reached out to him and said, I'm looking to get into college coaching, don't have any experience, do you have any interest? And a few weeks later, he reached out to me and hired me as an assistant coach. A lot of people don't get to be a full-time assistant their first opportunity, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity he gave me. We had a lot of humbling at Campbell during those 6 years. We had a couple of good seasons, but I learned a lot, and sometimes when you get beat, you learn a lot. And, again, we had a couple good seasons, but got my feet wet as a college coach, learned the path of recruiting and evaluating college players and high school players, and I'm really thankful for Chip Smith giving me that opportunity. 18 years ago, Coach Scalf lost a pitching coach. One moved on. Me and Patricia had always talked about if you wanted to live somewhere, where's the 2 places you like to go to? And one was Wilmington and one was Charleston. So when that opportunity for a spot opened up, I called Coach Scalf and I said, look, I know you lost a pitching coach. I work with hitters. I like to run the offense. If you can figure out, or we can figure out who can coach the pitching, I'd love to come down there and work with you guys. He called me back a few days later, came down for the interview, and 18 years later, I think we've been a pretty good team. Very thankful for what Coach Scalf has given me. He gave me an opportunity to come in here, and both coaches that I worked for in college, 2 of the biggest things they've done for me is let me be me and let me run with a lot of things and trusted me, and it's meant a lot. Coach Scalf, when I got here, and a lot of you that have been in this community kind of know Coach Scalf's ways and stuff like that, but I told him, I wanted to come here and coach third base and run the offense. And a couple weeks, I got here into the fall, we've had our first scrimmage. I'm getting ready to walk out to third base, and Coach Scalf sprints out there to third base, ready to coach it. I didn't say anything that day. I just kind of let him go, because when you're used to doing things, it's hard to break habits and what you're used to. Later that evening or the next day, I said, Coach, when we talked, you talked about letting me coach third and coach the offense, and he goes, did I go out there? And I said, yeah. From that moment on, we never had that issue, and I think for him being trustworthy. Fast forward 18 years this past season, when he's kind of going out in his retirement, he let me coach third and do a lot of things for 18 years, and I'd always thought, how cool would it be to let him go back to third base at the back end of the season. Little did I know our team would not play very well for the most part of last season. About 3 weeks to go into season. A lot of you that follow our team know that we had our backs against the wall. Sometimes in baseball, you're superstitious. I said, Coach, we're not really not doing too well, and I have zero problem with changing up some karma once you're going out to third and see if we can't get some things turned around. Lucky enough for us, whether that was it or not, I don't know, but it allowed me to kind of let him get back to what he used to do. I think he really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being in the dugout, being around the players, because there's two ways of doing things. You can be out on the field, but you can be there kind of having the pulse of the team. And I think that was a good inning for both of us in a way. And the way we finished up and the way we played was awesome. But I really think Coach Scalf, he's been super, his whole family, just the abilities that he's allowed me to grow as a coach and person, I'm forever thankful. That's kind of my baseball thank yous. I do have a family, and most of them are here today, and I had two very supportive parents, Mark and Joyce Hood, that have always been there for me, that have always supported me, that have always been stern. My dad, he's not one of the travel ball coaches that you see now. The biggest thing that he always said to me was pretty much, hit it hard and carry yourself the right way. Didn't say much after that. Now my mom, she was a little more crazy. She's into sports. I think she got it from her father, who was a basketball and golf coach in high school out in Nebraska and Kansas for a long time. But she's probably watches more sports than anybody in our family when it's all said and done. But they have always been there, very supportive, very thankful for everything they've done. I have a younger sister that has always been there. Growing up and probably dealing with me is probably not the easiest thing in the world. A lot of my friends, a lot of our staff could probably tell you that. But she's always been supportive. Her husband, two sons. I can't think enough of Melinda, Jeff, Graham, and Josh. My immediate family here in town. My wife, Patricia, there's a reason why I've been able to be an assistant coach for 24 years. She's been pretty special. She's been a big part. We share a lot of things. We're kind of opposites at times, which is good, but this December we'll be married for 25 years. We've been trustworthy, loyal, and very special, and she's always been there and a big part of who I am. She's been my best friend, and I'm very thankful for everything. My daughter, Mackenzie, like I said, she's grew up in this area pretty much. She was born when we were at Campbell, spent about 6 months there, and she spent the rest of her 18 years here in Wilmington. Luckily for us, she's been an unbelievable daughter. She's smart, she's athletic. I call her, or she tells me she's a D1 athlete. She's getting ready to head to South Carolina in about 2 weeks to move in. She got a dance scholarship in ballet. She'll be studying ballet and psychology at South Carolina. Unbelievably, extremely proud of her. One of the strongest, most courageous individuals I've ever seen, and love her very much. Extremely blessed to have a lot of friends and made a lot of friends here in the Wilmington community. Some former teammates from Campbell. I appreciate coming here, Scott. The supporters, the alums, been able to, just meet so many people that have meant a lot to me. I have a ton of friends in the professional side. Scouts, some of the best friends I've got are scouting side. I'm extremely excited about our staff that we have. Looking forward to working with them. Don't have a lot of changes. Coach Myers will be back as our pitching coach. Chris Moore will be back in a full-time role, working with me in the offense and recruiting. Kelly Secrease, one of our former players who was our student assistant last year, will be bumped up into our third assistant role, which in baseball terms it's a volunteer spot, but guys that know baseball, he works full-time. We got to figure out a way to get that spot paid in full down the road. I'm sure a lot of you that follow baseball have heard some of the stuff going around the country, but our sport deserves that opportunity. Josh Stott will continue to be our director of operations. It'll be his 7th year here, and he's an alum of the university. And Nick Fight, one of our former players, will be coming back. He got released this past spring, and he'll be our student assistant, working with our catchers and hitters and being seeing if this is what he wants to do. He's at the age, he's still searching. He's got a lot of energy. He's got about 1 more year of school to graduate. So anytime we can help one of our former players to come back in here, I'm very excited to get him back in here and be our student assistant. As far as this year's team, I couldn't be put in a better situation. We've got 60 out of our 63 starts last year on the mound is back. 8 of our 9 position player starters are back. Opportunity right there on paper to really have another solid season. Our program is one of the best programs in the country, and I'll say that to anybody. But on paper doesn't mean anything. You got to go out and do it on the field. And I'm excited to coach those guys. I'm excited to lead them. I'm excited to get them better. One of the biggest things that happened this year is we were able to keep some guys. I mean, if you follow our program, we have a lot of guys drafted their junior year and have to make decisions if they want to stay in college or start their professional career. This past season, we had 2 guys turn down professional baseball to say they're going to come back, Cole Weiss and Zarian Sharp. 2 big guys, big keys to the pitching side and position player side. I felt like over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been good, but we've been young, which is fun sometimes, but it also, the youthfulness can get you in trouble a lot of times. We've got 3 fifth-year seniors back on our team, Kev Brown, Braden Gorham, and Blake Deathridge. I'm looking for those guys for experience. We'll end up with about 8 seniors, and we hadn't had 8 seniors in the last 4 or 5 years because a lot of them just never get to their senior year because of the situation with professional baseball. But very excited. We've got a great group of young guys, freshmen and transfers that will be coming into our program. 13 of them were here in summer school and left last week to go home for a couple weeks. And I think if you ask the older guys that were here all summer, they'll tell you this is a different group. It's pretty special. So I saw them work a little bit in the weight room and just kind of, did what I could over the summer around recruiting and some of the new things that I have as being the head coach. And I'm just really excited to see how they kind of get out on the field and get after it. Other than that, again, I'm extremely excited, very thankful for everyone that showed up today, and can't wait to get after it and continue the upward trend and path for Seahawk baseball. I think we're a national program, and I expect us to continue to push down and knock down some barriers and even take it higher. And I enjoy watching kids have success. I enjoy seeing the dog piles and things like that. We expect to win here. We expect to get after it every day. We're still going to roll our sleeves up and work. I'll be honest, the 2 places I've been at, Campbell and Wilmington, and Wilmington late, but we haven't been given a lot from a baseball program standpoint, especially when I started at Campbell and when I first got here. It has gotten a lot better here, and I'm very thankful, but we've had to work, we've had to grind at both places, and that's part of who I am. I'm gonna roll my sleeves up and get after it, and you know, when the day is in, we'll be satisfied because we know we can look in the mirror and we've given it our best shot. But I'm excited, can't express how super energized I am to coach this team, to work for this university, and be a part of this community and help us continue to get after it.